Some days in your life are like streams flowing by predictably, carrying the same leaves, reflecting the same sky. But then there are moments that are not streams, they are tidal waves gathering force in the deep. July 7th, 2025 is not just another date, it is a convergence point, an energetic bottleneck that will distinguish those living by default from those living by design, the distracted from the aligned. When the divine says, the world shifts on July 7, it is not a headline for your distraction. It is not a prediction to create panic or speculation. It is a frequency broadcast only for those who have done the work to tune their inner receiver. Your reality is saturated with static, the constant buzz of what to want, who to envy, what to fear. The noise of the world is a gravity that pulls you outward, away from the only discovery that has ever mattered, the one you make within yourself. So many are looking for a spectacle. They expect a sign from the heavens, a booming voice, an undeniable miracle. But the divine often works in the space between your heartbeats. The signal is transmitted in the quiet after the noise dies down. This signal before the shift is not a threat, it is an invitation. But only those who have disciplined their perception, their spirit, their focus, will even recognize that an invitation has been sent. A signal like this is not decoded with the mind, it is received by the whole being. To receive it, you must first create bandwidth. You must clear the static of your own making, your ego's demands, your fears' projections, your soul's attachments. The reason the majority will miss the meaning of July 7 is that they are desperately scanning the horizon for something they want to see, instead of cleansing their lens to see what is real. Understand this: when your cup is full of your own opinions, there is no room for truth. When your heart is clenched with expectation, it cannot receive a gift that comes in an unexpected package. This is the secret of the masters, the mystics, and the architects of the soul. They understand that only in a state of clear readiness can divine intelligence operate. There is a silent architecture that must be built. A great ship is not built in the storm, it is constructed in the quiet of the dry dock, piece by piece, long before it ever touches the water. In the same way, your spirit must be forged in the silence before the moment of truth. Many believe transformation is a sudden event, like a lightning strike. But true soul-altering change is a process that begins far beneath the surface. It starts with the tiny, consistent choices when you choose presence over scrolling, reflection over reaction, integrity over convenience. These are not small, disconnected actions. They are the evidence that your inner world is beginning to resonate with a higher call. And what is this call? It is the homing beacon of your own destiny, the frequency that says, get ready, get right, get real. It doesn't shout, because shouting is for the desperate. A clear signal is for the devoted. A master craftsman, owning a single piece of wood for months, is not seeking an audience. He is preparing in private for a standard of perfection that only he understands. The same is true for your spiritual journey. You are being prepared for an upgrade in reality. This upgrade will not be announced on the news. It will not plead for your attention. It won't wait for you to feel ready. It will simply manifest. And when it does, it will not reward the loudest or the luckiest. It will empower the aligned. Imagine an athlete who trains for years, every sinew, every breath, every thought disciplined for a single moment that lasts less than 10 seconds. When they win, the world calls it talent. They don't see the thousands of hours of silence. The same is true for the soul. When July 7 arrives, many will look around in shock, wondering why some people seem to navigate the chaos with a calm certainty, while they are thrown into a state of panic and confusion. The reason is not a mystery. Those who received the signal were already living in alignment. They didn't need a crisis to wake them up. They had already chosen to be awake. The world demands proof before it will grant belief. But the spiritual path is the reverse. It demands you become the proof. If you are always waiting for a sign, you will miss your chance to be one. The divine doesn't send you a signal so you can sit and analyze it. It sends a signal so you can rise, so you can act, so you can shed the layers of who you are not. The false identities, the draining attachments, the borrowed goals. This signal is an act of grace. It is the chance to calibrate your instruments before the atmospheric pressure changes. You don't need the sky to crack open to know it's true. You only need to feel the undeniable pull in your own soul and have the courage to follow it. This is why stillness is power, not because it's empty, but because it is the only state in which you can perceive the frequencies that the cluttered mind cannot. There are truths that only a settled spirit can register, so you must train yourself not in how much you can accomplish, but in how deeply you can perceive. You must ask, when the world broadcasts fear, do I change the channel or do I absorb the static? When a wave of emotion rises, do I drown in it or do I surf it? When the herd stampedes in one direction, do I follow blindly or do I stand still and consult my inner compass? Those who have received the signal understand that a masterful life is not about reacting, it is about responding. But you cannot respond from a place of wisdom if you have not first practiced in stillness. Most people are caught in a web of constant reaction. Their triggers are their masters. Their anxieties are their guides. Their cravings are their chains. And so when the shift intensifies, they will be thrown into chaos. They will cry out, "Why was I not warned?" The truth is, the signal was always there, broadcasting constantly. They were just tuned to a different station. Discipline is the art of keeping your signal clear. It is not self-flagellation, it is self-liberation. The reason a pilot runs a pre-flight check every single time is not because he expects failure, but because operational readiness is a non-negotiable state of being. If you wait until the world is in a nosedive to learn how to fly, it is already too late. Your training is happening in this moment, in the way you breathe, the way you listen, the way you manage your energy, the way you guard your thoughts. These are not minor details, they are the structural components of your inner sanctuary. And when the great winds blow, only the sanctuaries built on the rock of truth will remain standing. This signal also serves as a test of humility. Many believe they are ready because they have information. But information without integration is a form of spiritual pride. You can quote 1,000 masters, but do you live by their principles? You can talk about light, but do you act with love? The signal is not received by the intellect, it is received by the spirit. And the spirit can only hold what it is humble enough to receive. You must sacrifice the need to be impressive, the urge to be correct, the addiction to being acknowledged. All of this is static, and static blocks the signal. When July 7 arrives, the invisible will become visible, but those who have trained in stillness will not be alarmed. They will not be shaken, they will simply take a deeper breath and continue their work. Why? Because their navigation is not dependent on external maps but on an internal compass. Their stability does not come from a predictable world but from a disciplined soul. Their peace is not the absence of a storm but the presence of a center. And this is what the signal has always been about: your center. The divine is not calling you to be entertained, it is calling you to be transformed. But transformation requires you to let go of the very things you use for comfort. Many pray for a new life while refusing to release their old habits. They want to ascend but are unwilling to drop their baggage. You cannot fly if you are still clutching the anchor. The signal is an invitation to release the blame, the regret, the bitterness, the old narrative. Only then will you be light enough to be lifted. So perceive not with your mind but with your core. See not with your eyes but with your clarity. Move not by the crowd's push but by your soul's pull. If you feel that resonance within, that deep, quiet knowing that a profound recalibration is underway, do not dismiss it, do not rationalize it away. Begin, right now. Return to your center, return to your discipline, return to your truth. The signal before the shift is not something you find, it is something you become. And those who become it will not be afraid of the wave. They will be the ones who ride it, because they are already moved by a much greater force, the current of the divine. True readiness does not begin when the danger appears on the horizon, it begins when the soul detects the change in the current. And what the frantic mind cannot comprehend, the trained spirit has already understood. There is a vast difference between reacting to reality and co-creating with it. The person living in reaction is always one step behind, perpetually seeking safety, perpetually shocked by change. But the person living in alignment is never truly surprised. They may not know the specifics, but their intuition, their inner state, their dreams have already given them the briefing. That low-grade hum of urgency you've been feeling, that sense that the game is about to change, that isn't just stress, that is your spirit's intelligence system whispering, it's time, prepare the vessel. What unfolds on July 7, 2025 is not a random occurrence, it is a culmination. It is a point where the spiritual laws of cause and effect become undeniable. All the choices, the energies, the intentions, the avoidances, they have been accumulating. The universe is a perfect accountant. The ledger has always been kept, and the scales reach a tipping point on certain sacred days, not as a punishment, but as a necessary rebalancing. You reap what you have sown. You become what you practice. You meet the reality for which you have prepared. Preparation is not a single act, it is a way of being. Those who are spiritually centered on July 7 will not be the ones who have a sudden epiphany that morning. They will be the ones who have been walking the quiet, often lonely path of inner alignment, who have been choosing compassion when it was easier to be cynical, who have been curating their thoughts when no one was auditing them, who have held on to their own light when the world offered the comfort of the shadows. These are the souls who prepared, not because they were afraid of an event, but because they live in a state of readiness. They knew that when the ground shakes, you must have already found your footing. You cannot learn to anchor yourself in the middle of a hurricane. You must already be anchored. And how do you prepare? Not by acquiring more, but by releasing more. Not by building thicker walls around you, but by fortifying your core within you. Many are running a race for things that have no weight in the coming reality. They collect status, followers, possessions. But what is the worth of these trophies? When the very frequency of the world rises, what good is a heavy crown on a panicked mind? You cannot cheat spiritual physics. When the energetic tide comes in, only the buoyant will rise with it. You must let go of the density of resentment, of blame, of unmourned grief. This is the preparation. This is the purification. Because when the energetic curtain is pulled back, and it will be, everything that is hidden will be illuminated. You cannot imitate peace. You cannot hack discipline. You cannot fake alignment. On that day, your energetic signature will be your only credential. The world is conditioned to react. It reacts to breaking news. It reacts to social pressure. It reacts to fear. But the spirit does not react. The spirit anticipates. The spirit knows that divine timing is not governed by a clock but by resonance. When God said the world shifts, He wasn't talking about your calendar. He was talking about your soul's curriculum. There are chapters in your life you do not write. You are simply called to live them. And this next chapter is not for the passive dreamer. It is for the active creator. It is not for the mind that hopes. It is for the soul that builds. You must ask yourself, am I still negotiating with my own evolution? Am I still looking for loopholes in truth? Am I still making excuses for my own lack of discipline? The time for debate is over. The time for embodiment is now. Preparation will look different for each soul. For one, it will mean finally choosing silence over the constant stream of digital noise. For another, it will mean having the courage to face a pain they've spent a lifetime avoiding. For some, it means cutting energetic cords to people and situations that drain their life force. For others, it is the radical act of forgiving the unforgivable, starting with themselves. These are not small adjustments, they are seismic shifts within. These are the inner revolutions that create a reality that does not crumble when the outer world shakes. And it will shake, not to destroy you, but to define you. Because all that is concealed will be revealed. And when that happens, you will see two kinds of people, those who are shattered by the truth, and those who have been chiseled by it. When a seed is buried in the earth, it does not complain about the darkness. It uses the darkness to anchor its roots, trusting that the light is its destiny. In the same way, your own preparation has been happening in the dark. Perhaps you couldn't explain why you felt a new pull towards solitude. Maybe you lost your taste for meaningless drama. Maybe you felt yourself withdrawing from noise, from conflict, from superficiality. This is not you being anti-social. This is you being spiritually intelligent. This is the deepest part of you responding to a signal your conscious mind may not fully grasp. That is fine. Let your soul navigate. Your mind is just a passenger. Many will attempt a last-minute spiritual cram session. They will binge-watch gurus, rush to meditate, and try to force a feeling of peace. But you cannot fast-track alignment. You cannot microwave integrity. You cannot cram for the test of your soul. These things are forged in the fires of daily, consistent choice. And if you have already begun this work, even if you feel imperfect, even if you stumble, know this: you are moving with the current, not against it. Keep walking. Keep building, because the new energetic reality cannot be inhabited by a version of you that refuses to evolve. The shift does not care who you said you were. It only responds to who you have actually become. And that truth is either your freedom or your cage. The preparation is the act of choosing freedom. Every craftsman keeps his tools sharp not because he loves labor, but because he respects his craft. The spiritual craftsman is always ready, not because he is paranoid about the future, but because presence is his art form. On July 7, the balance of power and peace will be tested. Those with no inner peace will be short-circuited by the incoming power. Those with no inner power will be swept away by the pace of change. So you must train both now. Train your mind to find the point of stillness. Train your heart to respond with grace. Train your body to be a disciplined vessel. Train your spirit to trust the process. Release the illusion that you can do it later. Time is a construct, but the present moment is your only point of power, and in this moment, you can choose. Your future is not waiting for your wish, it is waiting for your choice. You do not need to be flawless, you only need to be sincere. And from that sincerity you must build the habits that compound your energy, build the boundaries that honor your soul, build the inner world that becomes your unshakable refuge. These are the materials of the foundation you will be standing on when the whole world seems to shift on its axis. And what of those who dismiss the signal, who hear this and scoff? It's just another Tuesday. They are the ones who will experience the most turbulence. not because they are being punished, but because they refuse to prepare. Denial is not a shield against reality. It is merely a postponement of it. And when reality arrives, it does not check if you are available, it simply is. If you have trained, you will meet it as an ally. If you have not, you will meet it as an adversary. This is not a judgment from the divine, it is the consequence of your own resonance. So prepare not with anxiety, but with reverence. Prepare not because the world is ending, but because a new world is beginning. Prepare not for the world's approval, but for your soul's assignment. There is an elegance that emerges when you are truly ready. There is a strength that activates when you are truly aligned. There is a peace that descends when you truly surrender, and this peace is not manufactured by positive thinking. It is earned in the silence of your practice, in the rhythm of your breath, in the integrity of your choices. Do not look to the external world for your safety. Safety is an inside job. It is in how you navigate your own inner chaos. It is in how you honor your word to yourself. It is in the micro decisions you make every day to choose the higher path when the lower one is easier. Every choice you make today is a deposit into the account of your future self. Every moment you choose discipline, you are preparing for the day it is required. Every time you say no to that which is not for you, you say yes to the reality that is. There are two ways to arrive at July 70: by accident or by alignment. The first path leads to shock, the second leads to stillness. And that stillness does not come from knowing what will happen. It comes from being prepared for anything. The energy of that moment is already on its way. The tide is rising. You may not see it on the news, but your spirit feels it in the air. Trust that feeling. Do not suppress it. Do not escape it. Let it guide you to your inner work. Let it deepen your commitment. Let it be the reminder nothing you do in private is ever lost. It is compounding. It is being recorded. It is being woven into the fabric of your soul. And when the great shift comes, you will not be shaken, because you were not waiting for the world to give you permission to prepare. You were already becoming. You were not reacting to a crisis, you were standing in your readiness. You were not looking for a safe harbor, you were the harbor.